What do you feel in your body when you hear the term white people?
I feel like a cringe about it. Cringe is a good word.
White, straight, cisgender man is the top of the pile.
So I'm on the top of the pile. It's me.
Can I just propose a toast? Raise a glass if you're racist. To racist.
That was really weird.
Don't deny that you're racist. Try not to be racist, but also don't realize that you're. Until we're willing to talk about these things, healing can't really begin.
My daughter's 4 years old. She's still watching Disney movies and choosing a white princess.
Have you talked to her about that?
All the time.
Is racism inherent to whiteness?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, probably.
Well, yeah.
Joining us now is Matt, certified DEI expert.
Did race exist as a reality before?
We made race exist.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. What do you mean? What you're doing is you're stretching out of your whiteness. This is more for you and less for you.
Am I Racist? In theaters this Friday. Rated PG-13.
So the media are filled with Kamala Harris vibes. According to some, the election's already over. But here's the thing. There are 54 days until this election, and a lot is going to happen. It is the most important election of our lifetimes. Now more than ever, you need the truth. This is the only place you can get it. Daily Wire Plus members have unlimited access to our daily uncensored ad-free shows, live breaking news alerts, and the investigative journalism the left would love to bury. Join the fight right now at dailywire.com/subscribe. Use code FIGHT at checkout for 47% off new Daily Wire Plus memberships. That's dailywire.com/subscribe with code FIGHT and get 47% off. So, according to the media, this race is effectively over. It's effectively over with a couple of months left to go in this election. Now, normally, in a presidential race, this is kind of where the race heats up. This is not where the race is over. This is where the race heats up. And that's particularly true this year because one of the candidates is still a complete unknown. And yet the media have declared, because the news cycle moves so fast and because Donald Trump is such a known quantity, they've declared that because Donald Trump did not perform well in the debate the other night, and because the media ganged up with Kamala Harris, as we said yesterday, in the most rigged debate in presidential history, because of that, Donald Trump is effectively done. That was the case that was being made yesterday by pollster Frank Luntz. So Frank went on Piers Morgan's show, and he basically said, I think this race is now over. Donald Trump has blown it. It's completely done.
Do you think Kamala won? And does that mean she may now win the election?
I think more accurately, it's that Donald Trump lost. And this is not the worst debate performance I've seen in my career, but it's very close to it. The conversations about people eating dogs and cats, calling the leader of Hungary one of the greatest world leaders, repeatedly missing the opportunity to focus on inflation and affordability, and the complete inability to present his point of view without completely tearing into into Joe Biden, into whomever was in his sights. It was a pretty negative performance, pretty pessimistic, cynical, contemptuous, and I think that this will cost him. Yes, I'm trying to decide if I want to go on record, and the answer is yes. I think that he loses because of this debate performance.
Wow. Okay, so the answer to that is no. He does not lose because of this debate performance. I'll explain exactly why that is. So let's begin with the fact that the ratings on this debate were good, but not historically amazing. So apparently there are about 67 million total viewers who watched this debate. But of that 67 million total viewers, how many of those people are the undecided or the independents who are actually going to decide this election? That is the real question. 67 million people sounds like a lot of people, except for the first presidential debate in 2020 garnered 73 million people, and the very first debate between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton in 2016 was 84 million people. So it actually isn't historically all that great a rating in terms of the presidential race, in terms of historic presidential debates. But more importantly, the vast majority of Americans have already made up their mind. This race is going to come down to extremely small margins. Truly tiny margins in 7 different states: North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. All of those states are currently within the margin of error. Now, we have yet to see any serious poll data after the debate. Right? And it's going to be a few days until we actually know what that poll data looks like. And you would expect that Kamala Harris will get a minor bounce in many of these newish polls. But over time, are those numbers going to last? That is the big question. So Nate Silver, who again, I think is the best poll analyst in the country, over at his website, natesilver.net, he talks about how the polls are going to move. He says that Right now, nothing that you see in the polling is taking into account the debate because it's just too soon. And then you'll see a couple of days from now, sort of quick and dirty polls that seem to have an outsized impact because, of course, they'll be in the immediate aftermath of the debate. And then you'll get a few days from now, 4 to 7 days from now, more high-quality national polls, and then you will see a reversion to the new normal. And that will happen probably 8 to 13 days from now. So you're not going to know the actual impact of the new normal in the debate for another week or so. Well, a week in American politics is literally forever. It is forever in American politics, 1 week. And 2 weeks from now, this ain't going to be in the news at all. Remember, 2 weeks from now, we're already looking at the vice presidential debate. A lot can happen between now and then. And so what Nate Silver suggests is that she'll probably get a bump of somewhere between 1 to 1.5 points nationally. And that, of course, would make a very big difference in a very, very tight race. But what he says is that if I had to guess what the model will say in a week or two, once we get enough post-debate polling, I would say the race is pretty damned close to 50-50. Because going into the debate, according to Silver's model, he thought that Kamala Harris was actually the underdog, a fairly significant underdog. And now, because she performed well at the debate and because Trump did underperform and because the media, of course, were jumping on Trump's back and they were basically facilitating Harris's victory, because of all of that, she'll probably get a boost, but not enough of a boost to actually make this into a solid win for her. And herein lies the problem for Kamala Harris. Kamala will certainly get some sort of polling boost from the debate. Is it going to be that much of a boost? Pretty unclear. But I'll tell you what is clear. Your cell phone coverage if you get Pure Talk. I'm going to let you in on a little wireless hack and cut your cell phone bill in half every single month. Most big cell phone providers, they'd like you to believe you need unlimited data so they can overcharge you. Here's the fact. Most of you are buying way more data than you're ever going to need. With Pure Talk, my cell phone company, you can choose how much data you actually want and you can save. Listen to this. For just $35 a month, you can get unlimited talk, text, and 15 gigs of data plus mobile hotspot on America's most dependable 5G network. So I know it's hard to tell what you can do with that much data. So here's the answer. You can browse the internet for 500 hours. You can stream 3,000 songs. You can watch 30 hours of video. That's if you're not on Wi-Fi. Here's the best part. When you switch your cell phone service to Pure Talk on a qualifying plan, you'll get 1 year free of Daily Wire Plus Insider. That's access to the full library of DW Plus movies, series, and documentaries, including Lady Ballers, What is a Woman, Mr. Bertram, Run, Hide, Fight, plus uncensored ad-free daily shows, 1 year free of our kids' platform, Bentkey, and your very own free Leftist Tears Tumblr, all for getting better cell phone coverage at a better price. The only way you can do that, go to puretalk.com/Shapiro or call and mention my name. Stop overpaying for your cell phone plan. Instead, head on over to puretalk.com/Shapiro today, switch to a qualifying plan, get 1 year free of Daily Wire Plus Insider. What had to happen in that debate for each side was different. Donald Trump failed in the debate because there were 3 things that he had to effectively establish. 1, he had to establish that she is Biden. She is responsible for everything the Biden administration has done. You don't like what's going on right now? You need to change it up. You need to move away from Kamala Harris. He did not do his job in actually tying her that closely to Joe Biden. She was able to sort of evade those punches with the help, again, of David Muir and Lindsey Davis, who should just be on the DNC payroll at this point. But that is a proposition that most Americans agree with right now, that Kamala Harris is not the change agent, that Kamala Harris is, in fact, tied to Joe Biden at the hip and responsible for his policies. Second, he had to drive home that Harris is actually dangerously far left. He tried to do that, and the media just lied about it, as we will see. The media lied. They said that all of the crazy proposals that he said that she had, those weren't real. David Muir jumping in to try and fact check that. Or Lindsey Davis try to fact check Donald Trump when he would call out her far left policies on, say, abortion or illegal immigration. And they were lying on her behalf. But are those issues going to go away? And finally, he had to paint her as incompetent. And because he did not seem particularly competent on the stage, and because she was sort of massaged into competence by the moderators, because she was never challenged, just memorized a bunch of answers and then spewed them out like you would on like a 10th grade English exam. Just memorize what the teacher wants you to say, and then you just spew it right back out. No actual synthesis of knowledge or anything. Because she was able to pull that off, she didn't appear incompetent. That is why Trump didn't do what he had to do on the stage the other night. However, Kamala Harris, believe it or not, also did not do what she needed to do on the stage. And herein lies the problem. This is why it is still a coin flip 50-50 race, even despite the fact that about 2/3 of people who watched the debate thought that she won. By the way, I should mention at this point that back in 2012, 2/3 of people thought that Mitt Romney destroyed Barack Obama in the first debate. And then he lost. So what did Harris actually have to accomplish? Well, she had to dodge all the punches, which I think she did. But she also had to establish that she is different from Joe Biden in some fundamental way. And she said stuff like that. She said, right, I'm not Trump. I'm not Trump. And I'm not Joe Biden. I'm Kamala Harris. Right? She did that routine. But did it land? Did anyone believe that she is there because she is so different from Joe Biden? Or that, as I've said before, she's basically a new coat of paint on a broken up old jalopy and they're trying to pass it off as a Lamborghini. So she had to establish that she's wildly different from Joe Biden. Did she accomplish that? I don't think so. She also had to establish that she's a moderate who has somehow moved her positions for good reason. She never established that because she never bothered to explain why she moved from the far left in 2019 to her supposed current positions in 2024. She never explained why she reversed herself on fracking. She never explained why she reversed herself on decriminalization of border crossings, if she did. She never explained why she reversed herself on mandatory gun buybacks. She never explained why she reversed herself on electric vehicle mandates. She didn't explain any of those things. And here is the problem for Kamala Harris. All of the systemic disadvantages that she currently has as a candidate remain true today. Those perceptions have not been changed by that debate. The only perception that got changed by the debate is that she's the queen of word salad. And that was the big rap on her, sort of in terms of persona, is that if you asked her anything like a tough question, she would immediately spin off. And she actually did start to spin off. It's just that Trump totally failed in calling her out on it. The very first question she spun off. The very first question. It's a point of irritation for me because I believe that there were many opportunities for President Trump to duck in and deliver a swift left hook that would have left her on the canvas. The very opening of the debate, when she was asked, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? And she completely dodged the question. She went screaming for the hills with her hair on fire. When they came back to Trump, because they asked him about his tariff plans, and he likes talking about his tariff plans, instead of doing the thing he had to do, he did something he didn't have to do. He immediately should have said, listen, I'm happy to talk about my tariff plans, and I will in just a moment. But I just want to point out, Kamala Harris was asked a simple question. Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? She dodged the question. You know why she dodged. I know why she dodged. She knows why she dodged. We all know the answer is no. You are not better off than you were 4 years ago. She and her boss have wrecked the economy. She was the last person in the room on all of these decisions. The reason she's on the stage is because she's so tied at the hip to Joe Biden. We all know this. And she can sit there and talk about her future plans. We know she won't do any of those things because she hasn't for the last 3.5 years. She is lying to you and she's lying to the American people and she's trying to distract you with a bunch of plans she cribbed from Joe Biden's website. I mean, again, all that's super easy and it wouldn't have required a lot there. But President Trump was, for whatever reason, easily distractible during the debate. Now, again, as I say, that's more of a lost opportunity than anything else. But it doesn't mean that the race is dispositively over as the media are attempting to declare. Now, the media are going to attempt to shield her. And in a certain way, I'm not sure that benefits her. So, for example, Politico has a piece today titled, "It's Go Time for the Harris Campaign." Harris's campaign advisors made clear she will be doing more media interviews, including with unconventional outlets, but none of them are going to be adversarial. They're going to use the debate as the opportunity to say, she has now answered every question she had to answer. That means she can go hang out with Charlemagne the God. That means that she can go hang out with the ladies of The View. It means that she can go hang out with a bunch of friendlies all the way from here to the election. I don't think that's true. I don't think that the American people know what they need to know about Kamala Harris sufficient to put her in the White House. The bet that the Kamala Harris campaign is making is that what you saw from President Trump the other night is so off-putting to you that you simply will not vote for him and you'll vote for her by default. That is the bet that she is making. The problem is this. As much as people say that Donald Trump was super terrible, awful, no good, very bad, was Donald Trump a standard of deviation different from what he normally is? I would say no. I think that Donald Trump is pretty much what he always is. And we're all pretty used to it. Now, you can try to make a big deal out of they're eating cats and they're eating dogs in Springfield. You can make a big deal out of that. But the reality is we've been seeing this routine for 10 years. The American people are quite used to this at this point. That is not going to be the barrier to entry. Him saying unsubstantiated things on the stage, that is not going to be the dispositive factor in this year's election. And so I think that she is in real danger of ignoring the things she has to do, which is to establish why she changed her positions. She has to establish she's different than Joe Biden. I don't think she's doing any of those things. I think she's going to try and vibes this thing all the way out. But the problem is we actually just saw that over the last month. We saw her get nothing but the best vibes you could possibly get as a presidential candidate. And you know what happened? She reverted back to the mean. She went from heavy momentum, Kamala vibes, Kamala momentum. She went from that to losing to Donald Trump in the New York Times Siena College poll the day before the debate. So we're just going to get a second round of that. We're going to get vibes, a little bit of a boost, and then within 2 weeks, she's going to revert back to the mean. And what you'll end up with is a 50-50 race again. Well, Kamala Harris, they're all saying that she's going to get a big boost. She had this before. She had vibes and vibes and vibes, and then it turns out that she receded back to the mean because that is inevitable, just like death, which is why you should have life insurance. Policy Genius can make that happen for you. Policy Genius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. They are experts at helping you secure your family's financial future faster than Kamala Harris can change her policy positions. Even if you already have a life insurance policy through work, it might not offer enough protection for your family's needs. It might not follow you if you leave your job. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million in coverage. Some options are 100% online and let you avoid those unnecessary medical exams. Impressive, right? Their platform combines cutting-edge technology with human expertise. You get access to quotes from top insurers. You find the best rates. You receive guidance from licensed professionals throughout the process. Remember, Policy Genius works for you, not the insurance companies. Their recommendations are based on your needs, not commission structures. Let Policy Genius help you plan for your family's future, because true peace of mind comes from knowing you've taken care of what matters most. Be ready for the future with Policy Genius. Head on over to policygenius.com/Shapiro or click that link in the description. Get your free life insurance quote. See how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/Shapiro. There's a point made by RFK Jr. the other night. So, you'd imagine Donald Trump is never going to admit that he lost the debate, because why would he? So Donald Trump says, no, I won the debate. RFK Jr. was more honest about it. He says, yeah, he lost the debate, but not about governance. You may not like how he conducted himself or what he had to say. You may think that she was smoother, although wildly inauthentic on the stage. In the end, he is a better president than she is a vice president. Here's RFK Jr. explaining.
I think that Vice President Harris clearly won the debate in terms of her delivery, her polish, her organization, and her preparation. I think on substance, President Trump wins in terms of his governance.
Okay, and that is the thing. That is the thing. And so let's talk about what her governance will look like. I mean, this is what J.D. Vance has been trying to do. I think there are a lot of Republicans who wish that J.D. Vance could have been tag teamed in, WWE style, in the middle of that debate, so that he could go up against Kamala Harris. Because Donald Trump, great on the stump, magnetic, charismatic, does not have the sort of lawyerly capacity to break down and stick and move with, informational points. It's just not his thing. With that said, her policies remain a horror show. And her policies are the same as Joe Biden's. So yesterday, for example, she's trotted out all of her tax plans. Her tax plans amount to a massive tax increase. They do. That's what they are. She wants more, quote unquote, tax revenue to the federal government. And she says she's going to punish corporations. She says she's going to punish high earners. She says she's not going to raise taxes on people making under $400,000 a year. That is a lie. She will certainly raise taxes on people making under $400,000 a year. Her inflation has been an absolute punishment to people making under $400,000 a year. That's for sure. Yesterday, the Biden administration trotted out the head of their National Economic Council, whose name is Lael Brainerd, to talk about how their plan is to, quote unquote, tax the wealthy. This is what you're going to get, okay? If this is what you want, you should vote for it. But this is what her policy will look like. Not vibes, not hugs, not mamala. It'll look like high taxation and high regulation.
And if you think about it, what is the congressional Republican plan? A return to Smoot-Hawley tariffs, a massive increase in tax cuts for the wealthy and for the largest corporations that will blow up the deficit and debt by $5 trillion, on some estimates $10 trillion, versus a vision which is really about lifting the middle class, which is really about making the cost of living more affordable by addressing things like health care costs, housing costs, and which is really about giving middle class taxpayers a tax cut and making sure that we pay for that by asking the wealthiest people, the largest, most profitable corporations, to just pay their fair share so that we can keep our national debt in check.
We have tried this before. The idea that Democrats are going to keep the national debt in check is insanity. It's a lie. It's not true. Whenever they talk about how they're going to raise the taxes and this is somehow going to jog the middle class, I would like to ask how. Really, how? How is raising taxes on the people who pay the middle class going to increase the economic well-being of the middle class? The reality is what middle-class people aspire to be is rich. The way that they get rich is by being able to keep more of their money and being paid more and more innovation in the economy. That is how middle-class people become wealthy people. I know because I grew up a middle-class person and now I am a wealthier person. That is how economic mobility works in the United States. When you free up the markets, there is economic mobility. When you don't free up the markets, there is economic stagnation and everybody gets locked in where they are at best. That is what Kamala Harris is promising: increased taxes and increased regulations. And of course, her economic program will basically be Bernie Sanders because the Democratic Party in 2020 sold out to Bernie Sanders' economic program. It's the most astonishing political move of my lifetime that Joe Biden wins the nomination in 2020 on the basis of not being Bernie Sanders and then promptly turns around and hands the keys to the car to the drunken socialist. Insane. Here's Bernie Sanders talking about, we're moving toward an oligarchic society. So much oligarchy. What we really need is a government that is oligarchic. We need people like me who have never produced a damn thing in my entire life, been a complete leech on the ass of society, receiving taxpayer dollars from the time I was like 20 years old. We need me as part of the oligarchy. That's a good oligarchy. A bad oligarchy is what people actually build businesses that succeed. They made this elderly, geriatric, Soviet-style socialist the leader of their ideological economic plan.
Here's the message, and it's a message that I know it's difficult for many politicians to bring forth, and that is the recognition that increasingly the United States is moving toward an oligarchic form of society. The economy is very clear what's going on right now. The billionaire class and the 1% have never, ever had it so good. Period. End of discussion. More income and wealth inequality than any time in American history.
This is all obnoxious, and this is what you're going to get. Remember, this is all still, Americans know this. They don't want Bernie for president, and they don't want Bernie masquerading as Kamala for president of the United States either. It's not just Kamala Harris's bad policies that are keeping you up at night. It is also the fact that you got those crappy sheets, and you've had them for like 5 years. The reality is you need comfortable bedding, which is why I've decked out my entire bed with Bull & Branch. Bull & Branch product, it is so good. I personally shop it myself. I'm not usually one for changing with the seasons. My principles stay consistent all the time. But when it comes to bedding, that's another story, starting with the Bull & Branch Signature Collection. Their 100% organic cotton sheets are like the Constitution for your bed. Foundational, timeless, getting better with age. They start off buttery soft. They somehow get even softer with every wash. You can easily add their blankets, duvets, and quilts without making your bed feel heavy or hot. Trust me, a fall refresh with Bull & Branch will have your mind changed for good. Best of all, Bull & Branch gives you a 30-night worry-free guarantee with free shipping and returns on all U.S. orders of $100 or more. Let me tell you, when you're fighting the culture war day in and day out, good sleep is essential. Start getting your best sleep this fall with Bull & Branch. Enjoy 15% off plus free shipping on your first set of sheets at bullandbranch.com/Ben. That's Bull & Branch, BOLLAND, branch.com/Ben. Get 15% off plus free shipping. Exclusions apply. See site for details. Now, part of the debate was trying to grill Trump on very complex policies like, what do you want to do to replace Obamacare? Now, the reality is that healthcare in the United States is a mess. It has been a mess for my entire lifetime, and that is because of the perversion of incentives created by employer-based health insurance. Everyone knows this. Because your health insurance is tied to your job, what this means is that when you shift jobs, it's a serious problem to retain your health insurance. For example, the truth is health insurance should be disconnected from your job. You should be paying for it the same way that you do for your car insurance. That would be the way to do it. And you can pool your risk with other people. There are private health insurance companies that actually do this. There are communities that do this. There are lots of solutions that could be implemented. However, Kamala Harris's preferred solution, I know we're all supposed to forget this, her preferred solution is like the UK's National Health Service. She wanted Medicare for all. She wanted to abolish private healthcare insurance. She's never been asked why you suddenly changed your mind and you now like private healthcare insurance. Right? She now says that that's what she wants, right? During the debate, she was asked about this and she just switched her mind. What was amazing is there was never a follow-up from David Muir or Lindsay Davis. What changed your mind? What made you believe that it is now wrong to have an NHS-style health program in the United States? And the answer is she didn't change her mind. She's just lying. In the same way that Barack Obama was lying in 2008 when he said he was against gay marriage, they are lying when they say they do not want nationalized health care. Of course they want nationalized health care. Of course they do. And by the way, that bankrupts the country and the health service. You don't have to ask me. You can just go over to Britain and ask the people over there. Headline today from the New York Times. England's health service is in deep trouble, report finds. England's National Health Service, one of the country's most revered institutions, is in critical condition, according to a government commission report that cited long waits for treatment, crumbling hospitals, mental health patients in vermin-infested cells, and far fewer MRI scanners than in comparable countries. The hard-hitting review published late on Wednesday was commissioned by Britain's new Prime Minister Keir Starmer after he won the general election. The dire state of the NHS was a key reason many people voted for his Labour Party in July, according to polls. But the report underscores the scale of the challenge the government faces to revive a healthcare system that is in a spiral of decline after years of underinvestment and administrative meddling and is still suffering the aftershocks of the pandemic. So their solution is going to be presumably to pour more money into the NHS. Well, the problem is, of course, that the UK is bankrupt in the same way that the United States is effectively bankrupt at this point due to our spending, and Kamala Harris wants to make it more bankrupt. All these issues are not going away just because Donald Trump had a bad night the other night. They are not. And they are going to re-emerge over time. It is Donald Trump's job and the job of the Trump campaign to put them at the center of this campaign. The same thing is true of illegal immigration. So Donald Trump hammered away at illegal immigration the other night. And Kamala Harris lied about her own immigration record. Everyone is focusing in again about Donald Trump saying the thing about they're eating the dogs and eating the cats in Springfield. Everyone's focusing in on that particular moment because it seemed very weird. The origin of the claim that there were Haitian migrants who were eating pets, the origin of that was based on social media posts. And again, Trump's team is just too online. I'll get to that in just a moment. They need to get offline. Go touch some grass. Seriously. The American people would love for you to stop hanging around X.com and start hanging around actual voters and talking about the things that they care about in ways they care about it. With that said, is it going to damage Donald Trump that he said this thing about eating the dogs and eating the cats? The reality is that the underlying issue, which is you cannot inundate a town of 60,000 with 20,000 Haitian migrants who bring along their culture along with their labor and who overcrowd the public systems and overcrowd the housing and change the entire social fabric of a neighborhood. You can't just do that and expect there to be no disruptions. That, of course, is the point that Trump was trying to make. And then because it all got hijacked by dumb online discourse, you end up with memes about cats and ducks, which I will admit are hilarious. I mean, pictures of Donald Trump protecting cats and ducks is inherently funny. It just shouldn't get mentioned in a presidential debate because, again, if it ain't true, you probably shouldn't mention it. Apparently, the origin of the unfounded claim, according to the Washington Post, was a private Facebook group called Springfield, Ohio Crime and Information. A screenshot of a post to the group circulated widely with an unnamed person claiming the cat of a friend's daughter had been hung from a branch like you do to a deer for butchering, and they were carving it up to eat. They've been doing it at Snyder Park with the ducks and the geese, as I was told that last bit by rangers and police. And people posted this, and then it went viral. And then the Springfield Police Division said that was not something on their radar right now. And then people started posting a video of a black woman being arrested for reportedly killing and eating a cat in a driveway, but it turns out that it wasn't actually a person from Haiti, and it was also Canton, Ohio. Okay, but bottom line is that while the media are focusing in on that, the situation in Springfield, Ohio is serious, just as it is serious in Colorado with Venezuelan gangs. It turns out that vast swaths of illegal immigration is very bad for a society. Here, for example, is a Springfield, Ohio resident speaking about a Haitian immigrant killing her mother-in-law.
Everyone is talking about the death of ducks and cats in this town, but I'd like to talk about the death of one very special person, my mother-in-law, Kathy Heaton. On December 1st, I received a phone call that changed my life forever. She was collecting her trash can from her driveway when a car struck and killed her instantly. A task she had done over 2,000 times, spanning 4 decades in Springfield. That morning, though, a Haitian immigrant was allegedly driving recklessly when he struck and killed her. I say allegedly because to this day, there's been no punishment, not even for the expired tags on the vehicle he was driving.
Okay, again, this is the real issue. And Trump may have misstated the issue with a colorful example that probably is not true. But the underlying issue has always been the truth about Trump, right? Trump will repeat whatever is the most colorful example of a thing. And then everyone will jump on the colorful example and say it's false, while ignoring the underlying truth, which is that it is a major problem to import 20,000 people from the border and just give them temporary protected status without ever vetting them, without finding out whether they have a criminal past, without finding out whether they have an education, without actually determining what it will do to the social fabric of a town if suddenly, overnight, 25% of the population are just Haitian migrants. Like that is kind of a problem. While the media are fact-checking Donald Trump on eating dogs and cats, the Harris administration continues to claim that illegal immigration is not a big problem at all because they're lying, just like they're lying about not coming after you for taxes. Are you still struggling with back taxes or unfiled returns? Handling this alone can be a huge mistake and cost you thousands of bucks. In these challenging times, your best offense is Tax Network USA. With over 14 years of experience, the experts at Tax Network USA have saved clients millions in back taxes. Regardless of the size of your tax issue, their expertise will work to your advantage. Tax Network USA offers 3 key services: protection, compliance, and settlement. Upon signing up, Tax Network USA will immediately contact the IRS to secure a protection order, ensuring that aggressive collection activities like garnishments, levies, or property seizures are halted. If you haven't filed in a while, if you need amended returns, or if you're just missing records, Tax Network USA's expert tax preparers will update all your filings and eliminate the risk of IRS enforcement. Then they'll create a settlement strategy to reduce or eliminate your tax debt. The IRS is the largest collection agency on planet Earth. Now that tax season is over, collection season has begun. Tax Network USA can even help with state tax issues. For a complimentary consultation, call today 1-800-958-1000 or visit their website at tnusa.com/Shapiro. That's 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Shapiro today. Don't let the IRS take advantage of you. Get the help you need with Tax Network USA. And the Biden-Harris administration is perfectly sanguine about all of this. Literally yesterday, the Department of Homeland Security head Alejandro Mayorkas was saying that you shouldn't even worry about illegal immigrant crime. Why is this even on our radar? Well, I mean, it's on our radar because it's happening and because you imported 10 million illegal immigrants. That would be the reason.
When you hear a charge that illegal immigration and migrant crime is one of the greatest threats to the country today, you say what?
That it's false.
Yeah, that it's false. It's not a major issue. Not. Okay, well, here's the thing. I think a lot of Americans think it is a major issue. And the reason I say that is because every poll shows they think that it is a major issue. One of the other aspects of Kamala Harris's record is that her insane leftism in 2019, 2020, it's so unbelievable that people literally refuse to believe a thing that Trump said that was 100% true in the middle of the debate. So in the middle of the debate, Donald Trump said, you are fine. You want taxpayers to fund transgendering of minors or in prison. And everyone's like, what? She did her fake laugh. She did the double take, right? Here is the problem. She is and she was. Time magazine had to issue an entire correction based on this. So Trump said during Tuesday night's presidential debate, quote, she went out in Minnesota and wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. That's true. She did things nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this. That is true. In 2019, she said on an ACLU questionnaire that she would support taxpayer-funded gender transition surgeries for detained migrants. So Time magazine then said, the former president falsely claimed that Harris wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens in prison. Well, then Time actually had to issue a correction because it turns out that that insane policy was indeed Kamala Harris's policy. Quote, the original version of this story mischaracterized as false Donald Trump's statement accusing Kamala Harris of supporting transgender operations on illegal aliens in prison. As a presidential candidate in 2019, Harris filled out a questionnaire saying she supported taxpayer-funded gender transition treatment for detained immigrants. In other words, her position was so insane that even Time magazine is like, that can't be real. Trump has to be lying. But he wasn't. It was true. In fact, here is Kamala Harris talking about the magic of transing the it was, by the way, because she took this position that she was endorsed in 2019 by the Human Rights Council, which is a far left pro-LGBTQ plus minus divided by a sign organization. Here she was explaining the position in 2019.
That they were standing in the way of surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. And there was a specific case. And when I learned about the case, I worked behind the scenes to not only make sure that that transgender woman got the services she was deserving. So it wasn't only about that case. I made sure that they changed the policy in the state of California so that every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access to the medical care that they desired and need. And I believe it was not only, I know it was historic in California, but I believe actually it may have been one of the first, if not the first in the country, where I pushed for that policy in a Department of Corrections.
Okay, that didn't go away. That didn't go away. It didn't go away. And that will be an issue. Again, there will be ads all over the place. You will see them about Kamala Harris's positions from now until the election. The date today is September 12th. The election is not for 54 more days. This notion that it's all settled and over, no, it isn't. Again, she will get another vibes, gas in the tank. She'll get, there'll be another round of vibes. But I do think that the more you keep going back to the vibes well, the more you're avoiding the core issue, which is that she is too far left for the American population, that her entire party is too far left for the American population. And again, Trump failed signally in the debate to make that clear in a cohesive and coherent way. That doesn't mean that he can't now. That doesn't mean he can't now. This administration on a day-to-day level continues to promote and promulgate some of the worst policy ever seen in the United States. With regard to Afghanistan, yesterday, breaking news, on the anniversary of 9/11, White House National Security Council Communications Advisor John Kirby dismissed the concerns of military veterans critical of the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, writing in response to a Fox News Digital press inquiry that there's no use weighing in on the veterans' views. He said, obviously no use in responding, a handful of vets indeed, and all of one stripe. He said it accidentally as a reply all to an email chain that included Fox News Digital. Fox News Digital had reached out to the White House earlier on Wednesday afternoon regarding critical comments from 4 veterans, including Representative Corey Mills of Florida, who blasted Kirby for his Monday press conference that said they provided cover for Biden's administration's 2021 withdrawal. Again, this is one of the areas where, frankly, I was frustrated with President Trump's response. She was asked if she had any regrets about Afghanistan. And she then said no. And Donald Trump got distracted by discussion about his own negotiations with the Taliban. Every time he was given the opportunity to smack her, instead, he just followed the rabbit of, I want to talk about my own policy, which is really just bad debating strategy. President Trump should have immediately turned, and he should have said the thing that's true and that he himself has said before. You are responsible for this. You claim that you are the queen of empathy. You're an empathetic candidate. Your vibes and hugs and mamala. You don't give a damn about the 19 million women who are stuffed back into bags kept from school because you pulled out like a coward. You don't give a damn about the families of the 13 American service people who were murdered because of your garbage Afghanistan policy. You don't care that you handed over billions of dollars in weapons, American-made military weapons, to the Taliban. You don't care about any of those things. You're over here patting yourself on the back. And meanwhile, tens of thousands of Afghans who worked with the United States have either been or imprisoned by the Taliban. And you don't care. Pretend you care. You don't give a damn. That I wish you had said that. I mean, there's so many things. Again, it's a missed opportunity, but the election's not over. Now's the opportunity to say all of those things. And he should be saying all of those things. And I think he will say all of those things. In just a second, we'll get to the angle of the Trump campaign and how they need to be more disciplined, what that would start to look like. We'll get to that in just one second. First, this is it. Tomorrow, our first ever theatrical release, Am I Racist?, hits theaters nationwide. Listen closely. The only way to see the film is in a movie theater. Starting tomorrow, go to amiracist.com right now. Type in your city or zip code, find your local theater, grab your tickets for this weekend. You, your friends, your family. Absolutely crucial. You show up this opening weekend, help us dominate the box office. Don't wait. Head on over to amiracist.com. Get your tickets today. Meanwhile, the Trump campaign, they do need to actually get more disciplined. I know. Critiques of Trump in many quarters are seen as some sort of element of disloyalty. It's the opposite. It's not about loyalty or disloyalty. Donald Trump owes it to the American people to campaign like a pro because the American people do not deserve Kamala Harris as president of the United States. And Trump has every advantage. He has the positional advantage. He has the fact that she actually is a bad candidate. I know we've all forgotten this. She's not a good candidate. She can string together a good debate. She did it in 2019. Her very first debate was good. If you remember, she debated Joe Biden. She had a big boost in the polls, and then she immediately fell apart. That means he has to be disciplined. One element of that discipline would be getting offline. Seriously, get offline. Talk about the kitchen table issues Americans care about. Talk about the economy. Talk about inflation. Don't get caught up in the memery. Don't get caught up in the trollery. I understand that many of his most ardent supporters love that kind of stuff. They're already voting for you, Mr. President. They already are. One element of this is that he currently has a person named Laura Loomer who has been joining him on the campaign trail. And the media are just having a field day with this, of course, because Laura Loomer tends to tweet nutty things. So, for example, just the other day, Laura Loomer tweeted, quote, "If Kamala Harris wins, the White House will smell like curry and White House speeches will be facilitated via a call center." Because, of course, she is of Indian American extraction. She's of Indian extraction. Her mom was an immigrant, okay, from India, and her dad was black. So here is the thing. Is that useful? Is that useful to the Trump campaign? All the media wish to do from now until the election is vibe Kamala Harris and hit Donald Trump with every shiny object they can find. Frying pans, spatulas, egg beaters. It doesn't matter. Anything they can find to hit him with, they will. Why give them the ammo? Why? Is Laura Loomer really that great at debate prep? Given the performance the other night, I would suggest probably not. I understand that Donald Trump has people who really, the more they love him, he somehow will use them as sort of a security blanket sometimes, having them around him. But he doesn't need that. He's the former president of the United States. He's one of the most powerful people in the world. He certainly has the confidence to be able to say to his own advisors, if he disagrees with them, I disagree with you. He does it all the time. He needs to surround himself with people who are going to give him good advice. Advice that doesn't involve the memery or the trollery or whatever he's posting on Truth Social today. And there are a lot of people who say none of that matters. And it doesn't, but it does at the margin. Everything matters at the margin. This is why it actually matters what the candidates do and do not do from here through Election Day. It's why I promise you it's going to be a big distraction at the vice presidential debate, October 1st. I promise you the number one issue Tim Walz is going to hit J.D. Vance with is his association with Tucker Carlson, because Tucker had the foolish idea of putting on air a pseudo-historian who pushed a bunch of Nazi apologist propaganda about World War II. Like, that was stupid. It was stupid. There's no reason to do these things. There's no reason. Because again, this election is going to be won directly at the margins. Everybody says nothing matters, and it does, statistically it doesn't. Nate Silver points out 96% of the American population who's going to vote already made up their minds. It's going to come down to the 4%. What does that mean? That means maybe 30,000 votes in North Carolina. It means maybe 20,000 votes in Georgia. It means perhaps 20,000 votes in Arizona, 40,000 votes in Wisconsin. It means 80,000 votes in Michigan and 100,000 votes in Pennsylvania. The entire election is going to come down to those kinds of numbers. And so failures at the margin, because you're more comfortable with having somebody who's pretty fringy hanging around with you, that is bad strategy. It's just bad strategy. There's no reason to do it. This needs to be a disciplined campaign. By the way, I'm not the only one calling this out. Marjorie Taylor Greene, of all people, is calling this out. Suddenly the voice of reason in the Republican Party. So Marjorie Taylor Greene put out a tweet, quote, "This is appalling." This is about the Laura Loomer tweet. "This is appalling and extremely racist. It does not represent who we are as Republicans or MAGA. This does not represent President Trump. This type of behavior should not be tolerated ever. Laura Loomer should take this down." Loomer then fired back and called Greene a raging anti-Semite and claimed her post was a funny joke about Kamala Harris using her Indian mom as a way to dodge questions. Yeah, like, and of course, the media are willing to jump on all this. And you can say it's unfair for the media to focus in on all this stuff. After all, Kamala Harris surrounds herself with some of the most radical people in American politics, except that they are considered mainstream, ranging from the Ilhan Omars and Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez's to her Jewish liaison, who's radically anti-Israel, to her Arab liaison, who's also radically anti-Israel. Like, she surrounds herself with nut jobs, Kamala Harris, all day long. But that's not the point. Obviously, all fire from the media trained on Donald Trump right now, all of it. And it's unfair, and it's ugly, and it's gross. I agree. Why provide vulnerabilities? Why? This is bad strategy. Don't provide vulnerabilities to a group of people who are seeking your demise. Okay, meanwhile, yesterday was 9/11, and weirdly, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump and Joe Biden and J.D. Vance all attended the same 9/11 service. Here are some photos of what that looked like. You can see here that they're all standing side by side. Mayor Bloomberg is in the middle because, of course, Mayor Bloomberg was not actually the mayor on 9/11. It was Rudy Giuliani who's the mayor on 9/11. There is Trump shaking Kamala Harris's hand. Joe Biden is there in the middle. You can see everybody is pretty friendly. Everybody's being pretty nice to one another. And I think that that's great. I do. I think that it's good for Republicans and Democrats to treat each other like human beings. In fact, yesterday, Joe Biden did perhaps the only charming thing I've ever seen him do as president of the United States. Yesterday, he was visiting in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and he ended up in an area that is wildly pro-Trump. And there was an older gentleman there who's a big Trump fan who then said to Joe Biden, he started making fun of him, called him an old fart, and Joe Biden kind of went back at him. And then the guy said, well, I'll respect you more if you put on a Trump hat. And so Biden did. Biden put on the Trump hat. Here's a bit of what that looked like.
I need that hat.
Want my autograph?
Hell no.
You know my name. Come on.
I ain't going that far.
Yeah, you would do a selfie. There he goes.
Okay, and then there's a big round of applause, and Biden smiles, and
I'm proud of you now.
and the older gentleman says to Biden, "I'm proud of you now." Now, again, that's funny and that's charming. Okay, it is. Here is my only problem with it. It's all fake. And the reason I say that is because there used to be a time in American politics where people would do this sort of stuff sort of routinely. Yes, I think my political opponent's wrong. Yes, I think the things that they want for the country are bad. Also, We're fellow Americans. And what you sense, this is the same, Joe Biden is there. He's putting on the Trump hat in order to please the crowd or whatever. This is the same person who said that Donald Trump is basically a domestic insurrectionist who wants to destroy the country and probably ought to be in jail. And this is the part undergirding all of this that really is troubling to me. If you want to get back to an America that has some sense of solidarity, you do need stuff like this, but it needs to be actually felt. Not that Joe Biden would ever vote for Donald Trump or that Donald Trump would ever vote for Joe Biden or that I would ever vote for Joe Biden or anything like that. But if you're going to get back to a sense of social fabric and solidarity, there has to be the idea that simply voting for the other guy doesn't make you evil. And I don't think that Joe Biden actually believes that. I think Joe Biden in the moment sort of allowed the unity of the moment to overwhelm him. But I don't think Democrats actually believe that. And that is a huge problem. By every poll for my entire lifetime, the general feeling of Republicans for Democrats is that they are wrong and stupid. And the general feeling about Democrats with regard to Republicans is not that they're wrong or stupid. It's that they are vicious, evil, terrible people. And that asymmetry has led to this current moment. Because at a certain point, if you get called evil and terrible and vicious and horrifying, then you're going to turn around and say, well, you keep calling me that because you are evil. You're wrong. You're vicious and horrible. It's not just you're wrong. You're evil. You call me evil. Maybe it's because you're evil. These sorts of scenes of unity, they have a sort of nostalgic feeling about them because we're now beyond that. The only way to get back to some sense of normality is the kind of thing that Biden did, but not, and it has to be more than that. It has to be not making speeches in which you declare that your political opposition is the enemy of the American people who wants to destroy the republic, particularly when it's not true. Joe Biden knows better than that. Because let's put it this way. If Joe Biden truly believed about Donald Trump what he says he believes about Donald Trump, which is that Donald Trump is basically Hitler without the mustache, do you think he'd put on a swastika hat? Of course not. Do you think that he would put on a Donald Trump hat if he thought that Donald Trump was seriously going to overthrow the republic? Of course not. It shows it's all a lie. It shows it is all, every part of it, a lie. And it has been a lie, which is why you shouldn't fall for it. I don't think the American people will. Meanwhile, America's racial reckoning apparently hasn't ended. By racial reckoning, I mean everybody talking about race all the time for no apparent reason. The latest iteration of this, because the demand in the media exceeds the supply when it comes to racism. The media want racism. They want talk about how America is deeply racist. They will find incidents that are clearly not racist, and then they will treat them as though they are racist. The latest iteration of this is Tyreek Hill. So Tyreek Hill is a wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins. And right before the game on Sunday, he was briefly detained by police. Now, this detention is Tyreek Hill's fault. It is. All he had to do was obey the officers. That's all he had to do. He didn't obey the officers. He was being a jack. And so he was taken out of the car and put on the ground. Now, I'll also remind you that the exact same thing happened to Scottie Scheffler, the PGA Tour golfer. The exact same thing happened to him, much more unjustifiably, and Scottie Scheffler happens to be white. So multiple things can be true. One, some cops can be over-aggressive. That happens sometimes. Two, this is actually Tyreek Hill's fault. So here is some of the body cam footage. And as we'll see, this turned into a big discussion about race, and as always, here's the actual footage.
Knock on my window like that.
So you can see Tyreek Hill is pulled over
Why don't you have your seatbelt on?
by a motorcycle cop. He rolls down his window.
Don't knock on my window like that, no. Like what? Don't knock on my window like that.
Why you have it up?
Don't knock on my window like that.
Why you have it up? I have to knock to let you know I'm here. That way you can lower it and talk to you.
Just get my ticket, bro, so I can go. I'm finna be late, gang. Do what you gotta do.
Keep it down. Hey! Keep your window down.
He rolls his window back up.
Tell me
The cop knocks on the window again.
Down, I'm gonna get you
He starts yelling at the cop.
Get out of the car.
He rolls it down a little bit to talk to him, and then he refuses to lower the window.
Get out of the car right now. We're not playing this game. Get out. 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 Damn. What part of product you in this town? Hey, Drew, I'm getting arrested, dude. I'm getting arrested.
Okay, that's Tyreek Hill's fault. It is. That's not the cop's fault. The cop knocks on his window, and Tyreek Hill gets mad that he knocked on the window, which, if you don't want him to knock on your window, you got to lower the window. That's the way windows work. And then he rolls his window back up in the middle of the conversation with the cop. And the cop knocks on his window again, and he refuses to roll down the window. Then he rolls it down like a crack. And the cop's like, that's not how this works. So Tyreek Hill's immediate response to this is that the officer who detained him should be fired. So first of all, we don't know the identity of the cop so far. If I had to guess from the accent, that cop is probably Hispanic. Huge number of Hispanic cops in South Florida, of course. Huge Hispanic population. A lot of Cubans and Venezuelans and Puerto Ricans and Dominicans. So I really doubt this is like white on black racism because it doesn't sound like the cop in this particular case is actually white. But even if the cop were white, this is Tyreek Hill's fault. I'm sorry. Roll down your window. Everyone knows this. When you get pulled over by a cop, white, black, or green, you put your hands on the wheel and you roll down the window. That's what you do. It's not exactly like rocket science. So according to the Wall Street Journal, Hill said at a press conference, he's got to go, man. He said he's got to go because in that instant right there, not only did he treat me bad, he also treated my teammates with disrespect. Really? Did he? Did he treat like Tua, the Miami quarterback, did he treat him with disrespect somehow? He said he should have let his window down and handled the interaction differently. He said, I could have been better. He said, at the end of the day, I'm human. I have to follow rules. I got to do what everyone else would do. Now, does that give them the right to literally beat the dog out of me? They didn't beat the dog out of you, dude. You played that day. Hill yelled repeatedly he had just had knee surgery. He said Wednesday that he had stem cells injected during a minor procedure. So it wasn't even true he had knee surgery. His lawyer said the officer who led the traffic stop put his hands on Hill's neck at least twice and put his knee on Hill's back. He said, we are of the opinion the officer's use of force was excessive, escalating, and reckless. He then scored a touchdown in the same day. So clearly, brutally, viciously injured by the cop. It's so tiresome and it is so stupid. Again, how about this? Be a reasonable, rational human being with the cops. And there is like a 98% chance that everything will go just fine. And no, the cop shouldn't be fired. Ridiculous. Okay, in just 1 second, we're going to get to the civilizational crisis of a huge number of people deciding they don't want to have kids because it's warm outside. If you're not a member, become a member. Use code Shapiro at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans. Click that link in the description and join us.
Republicans are Nazis. You cannot separate yourselves from the bad white people.
Growing up, I never thought much about race. It never really seemed to matter that much, at least not to me. Am I racist?
I would really appreciate it if you left.
I'm trying to learn. I'm on this journey. If I'm going to sort this out, I need to go deeper undercover.
They gonna say I'm racist. Joining us now is Matt, certified DEI expert.
Here's my certification. And what you're doing is you're stretching out of your whiteness. This is more for you in this field.
Is America inherently racist?
The word inherent is challenging there.
I want to rename the George Washington Monument to the George Floyd Monument.
America is racist to its bones.
So inherently.
Yeah, this country is a piece of
white
folks,
white
trash,
White supremacy.
white woman, white boy.
Is there a black person around here? What's a black person right here? Does he not exist?
Say I'm racist.
Hi, Robin.
Hi, what's your name?
I'm Matt.
Just had to ask who you are because you have to be careful.
Never be too careful.
They gonna say you racist.
Buy your tickets now. In theaters September 13th. Rated PG-13.
Folks, in today's digital world, your personal information is under constant attack. Every time you connect to an unencrypted network, cafes, hotels, airports, you name it, any hacker on the same network can gain access to and steal your personal data. Here's the kicker. It doesn't take a tech genius to do this. This is hardware so cheap, a smart 12-year-old could pull it off. Your data is valuable. Hackers can make up to $1,000 per person selling personal information on the dark web, which is why I use ExpressVPN. It's a game changer. Just this week, I was at the airport. I needed to connect to their Wi-Fi to check email. So I fired up ExpressVPN. Boom, I was now surfing the internet safely and securely. ExpressVPN creates a secure encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet. It's so secure, it would take a hacker with a supercomputer over 1 billion years to get past their encryption. Here's what I love most about ExpressVPN. It's really easy to use. You just fire up that app, click one button, and now you're protected. It works on all your devices, phones, laptops, tablets, you name it, ExpressVPN has you covered. Protect your online privacy today by visiting expressvpn.com/Ben. That's expressvpn.com/Ben. Get 3 extra months for free with my exclusive link, expressvpn.com/Ben to learn more.